Hello and welcome to episode one of it's not a podcast. We don't know what it is yet. We're not naming it Yugi-Centric Market Watch because we don't know if it's going to be Market Watch every week. We're just kind of calling it a Yugi talk between Dean and Joey right now. It is going to be mostly a Market Watch video this week. We're going to be focusing on core century rares, starlight rares, and how the tins are affecting it, and then just an overall talk about the market. I personally am frustrated with the way that this year has gone. I have a fireproof box below me that has a bunch of starlights that the prices are halved at this point from when we got them at. So that's very frustrating. Do I think that there's a light at the end of the tunnel? I hope. I think after the rarity collection comes out, my hope is that when we go into December and January, starlights will go back to being starlights. Maybe Konami kind of realizes what's going on. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that could help it is once we get out of this celebration of the 25th anniversary of Yu-Gi-Oh, there could be a time where now that's something I think that Konami is going to drag on as long as they can, because overall I think it's been fairly well received, but there will be a time when they stop printing these what they're calling quarter century secret rares, which people are calling knockoff starlights, and there's always a potential for them to come out with another rarity that's similar, but there could be a time where they stop printing these quarter century secret rares and go back to just normal starlights, the same ratio, they're just as hard to pull as they used to be, and yeah, there is a potential for them to go back to their former glory. But I think that the rarity collection has a lot of people worried. And I think maybe once that comes out, once people realize, what's going to be in that set, then some of the fears of reprints or things like that might go away. But I think overall, like we've discussed, there's other issues beyond just the rarity collection, overprinting, and then now, basically giving away this rarity that looks very similar to the ultimate rarity that Yu-Gi-Oh had for the last couple of years now.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of jump in real quick, and we'll just start looking at some of these prices. So the first one we're going to pull up is Stardust Dragon. So this was just printed 2 weeks ago in the tin. I own one. It's actually, I wish I brought it over here. You wouldn't be able to see it really anyway, but it looks exactly like a Starlight rare.
You have the one from the tin?
I have the Stardust Dragon from the tin,
oh,
yeah.
I didn't know you pulled that. Okay.
I bought it.
Oh, okay.
I bought all of them right, and now when you get to your piece about the prices for the core century rares from the tins,
you got a great deal on it. Yeah.
I got them at decent prices. Again, they're not super expensive, but I got it for $4 at the time. So if we look down here, we'll just go the 6 month, but you see this huge drop off, which happens the week of June 19th through 25th, which is when they announced the tins. So this is where the 10 promos came out. Now you could tell that it was already dropping, so there was a lull in the market as is, and again it was pretty high. So it was at $735, and if I go the yearly from September 26th of last year is at $540. So it's still above that point. So I think that's one thing to look at. We are overreacting a little bit because the high, it's not too far off of the high, and it's much higher than it was September of last year. Now, again, it's going to depend on the card, but for Stardust Dragon, at least, that seems to be the case. Now, Dawn of Majesty is not a great set.
No.
And no one's going to buy it other than to chase this card. And really, there's no point of buying. At that point, you might as well just buy this card. So buying cases or something of Dawn of Majesty isn't gonna get you very far. Now, the second one we're going to go over, which I also bought the core century rare of, is the Black Rose Dragon. And if you look here, same deal. It just dropped a little right around the same time. I think it was a little after. And this took a hard drop from $500, almost $600 and now we're at 496. Now this over the year is actually below where it was a year ago the same week. So it was $510 September 26th to October 2nd, 2022. We are now at $496 here in September 2023. This, and I think, see, Dawn Majesty is a bad set too. Lightning Overdrive is worse. I think we both agree, correct?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had traded this card for the Dark Magician and Exodia from the video game set, which I think, looking back on it, was a good deal for me long term. Although this was a tough card to give up. This is your favorite card, right? Black Rose?
Overall, it's probably one of my favorite synchros. I think it looks great in all rarities, pretty much.
But like from growing up, I thought this was your favorite card. Am I completely wrong?
Yeah, no.
Oh wow. Okay, that's embarrassing. All right, so this is another example of one of the quarter centuries, kind of negging the Starlight price. Next one is Exodia. You said this is the most egregious, right?
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of how much it's gone down.
Well, in terms of they just made this card.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the only one they've done that to this year. I mean, like, well, yeah, I guess it is the most recent that they reprinted, because that just came out in Crystal Revenge.
October. Yeah.
But there's been plenty that they've had no basically haven't held back on reprinting. You know, Zeus, IP Masquerena, and Zeus was a Starlight in Phantom Rage, which I think it was a 2021 or a 2022. No, I'm sorry, 2020 or 2021 set. So not all that old. And they just, immediately gave that a quarter century rare.
The one difference, which I was going to get to at the end here, is at least that was in a set where it wasn't like you don't have a high chance of getting it. So the price for the Zeus is sitting at like 160. Actually, I think the market price is like $190 for the quarter century secret rare. So that price is pretty decent. Actually, Zeus is the next one I was going to show, which is right here. Now the price, obviously, as you just said, went down. It actually cratered from $457 to $403, which, when I say that out loud, doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah. Some of these, like we said, with Stardust and Black Rose, relative to some of the other Starlights that I'm assuming you're going to get to, are actually not that bad. Like, the Stardust dropped about $100 from its high. And, once we get into the tins, I have my reasons for why that is in regards to the Stardust and Black Rose and cards of that type. But that has a lot to do with alternate formats that are still very popular, and the fact that those cards are, fan favorites and staples. Not that Exodia isn't, but yeah, it truly is a shame that the promo in the new tins of Exodia is like a $3 card. Meanwhile, it just got a fair treatment, I think, in the Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge as a Starlight, as a very expensive Starlight, as it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, to get all the pieces too.
Right, which was an insane chase, but like a really great idea that they had, I think.
Yeah, and they kind of butchered that to an extent with this. Now again, I'm going to try to pull it out because it's over here, and I love the way this card looks. I have the Red Eyes Black Dragon quarter century rare here. It looks great. This is like a $3 card. I would have rather they kept this and put it into a box somewhere or a set and make it a Starlight. Like that's really what they should have. At the end of the day, that's really what I feel like they should have done with these staple cards. I get why they did this, because everyone knows Dark Magician, Red Eyes, and Blue Eyes, so they wanted to give them quarter century rares because it's more appealing to people. Ooh, shiny. But I think that who they're marketing to, there's not many new people coming into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right.
Even people who played when we were kids, like our friends aren't going and buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Right.
So you're just screwing over the collectors.
And I think, yeah, what could have been a good idea would be to maybe have, like you said, put that in a core set or something like that, where you have a couple of meta relevant Starlights, but then you put the one nostalgia bait card like that, like a Blue Eyes or a Red Eyes um, Starlight in there, where then, yeah, you'll like, as a business decision, that would actually incentivize more people, collectors and, meta competitive players alike, to crack open more of that set. You'd have the nostalgic collectors cracking it open, trying to pull their Blue
Try to
Eyes White
pull it.
Dragon Starlight,
Yeah.
and then the meta players trying to get the new cards or a Starlight version of a new meta relevant card.
Yes. Because frankly, if they're so cheap that, like, you know me, you know how many tins we bought last year.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that many tins this year.
Yeah.
I told you I already bought all the cards I needed, and that was it. So they took the fun, which helps my wallet but hurts their bottom line by doing that. If they just put a Dark Magician Starlight Rare in some random booster box, I would go bankrupt because I would be chasing after it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people who are like that. Now, just moving on real quick so we can get through this. I have Apollosa, who's next. Now, this was the most expensive Starlight, and just with the rest of the Starlight market has been going down all year. Again, it was at a high, and these numbers are tough because it's not sold super often. But you can see here it started to sell a lot more recently. So we'll go here. So from June to now, it's gone from 1,400. It's kind of dropped down. Someone bought it for $12. This is obviously it's Korean, so that doesn't really count. But there's a near mint English version that went for under $1,000. So overall, this price dropping as well. Now, this is where I get frustrated because the cards I'm going to talk about, the ones that I own, and you kind of have something to say about this. Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I'm going to talk about first. It's at a all-time low at almost under $200. It was at an all-time high over 300, well over 300 this past winter and spring. And seemingly, when the rest of the Starlights were announced, this card dropped. But again, it wasn't getting a quarter century. I don't know why. Do you have any insight as to why that would happen?
Well, yeah. So like this card and the one that I think you're gonna go to next, my opinion is in line with yours. I don't. These are cards that I don't understand why they would drop, because there was no announcement of a reprint as a quarter century secret rare. Very iconic and somewhat, the most meta relevant nostalgic card for the Dark Magician deck. And at the same time, it's still the highest rarity of this card, and there's nothing even close other than a prismatic rare from a tin, which, like, obviously that didn't affect the price because that came out over a year ago. So that's what confuses me, is like these cards that have had there's been no inclination of any sort of a higher rarity reprint. So
now I'll jump to the next one that you kind of just mentioned there, and that's Mirror Jade. Same deal. Now this came out in January with Photon Hypernova, which was a good set. We opened a few boxes of that. It's down. It was up. The high was 564. I'm not counting that. I'm going to count the high really being at a little over 400, which is in the spring, which is roundish when I got it. I think I got it more like here in like the mid 300s. Again, I trade in cards. I don't buy these outright. But it dipped down to 255. It's going up slightly. There's some sales recently, and this is encouraging. And this is kind of what I spoke about at the beginning, which is I think once we get past these tins and once we get past the rarity collection, these prices are going to start going back up. Because if you look here, recent sales, we had 364. This is end of August. That was a high. We got 320, 318, 318, 327, 310 in the past 2 weeks. So it's back over 300. Market price is still 280, but the last like 10 buys have been around 300. So I think this will go back over 300. But still, again, this is a card that everyone uses.
Yeah. And this one makes even less sense to me, because unlike the Dragoon, which has a I think, ultra rare reprinting in one of the tins and then a prismatic reprint in the following tin. This one literally only has an ultra rare from a structure deck, like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, this one makes even less sense to me than Dragoon. Like, and like you said, this card is probably even more played than Dragoon currently.
And
So
that structure deck card is 18 cents.
right. So you would, like, yeah, the logic on that one dropping, I really think it all comes down to, like you just said, once we get past this rarity collection and once we get out of this time frame of 25th anniversary, and I would give that maybe another 6 more months. They could, like, milk this. And the issue is that they've labeled these rarity as quarter century secret rares. So once that celebration is over, I think they're going to have a tough time continuing to make that rarity. And once that's all said and done, then I do see a world where, like, the Starlight market could start to climb back up.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that for the last thought, this is somewhat encouraging. So IP Masquerena, which also got a quarter century rare printing, dropped down. And again, you don't have a lot of sales of this, but it dropped down. Now, again, one of the reasons it dropped that might have been this $19 sale that could be messing with the pricing. It was a Korean secret rare. But I think overall, though, if you look at it, it's been progressively going down throughout the year. It takes a huge dip here, which I think was when Monsters Revenge came out. Dips again, and it's kind of evened out around the 1,200, 1,300 range. But again, it was at a high of 1,700 this year. So it's still down a significant amount. It's bouncing back slightly, I guess, if you want to call this like this dip here when it came out. Monsters Revenge. It was Monsters Revenge, right? That IP Masquerena was in. So if you want to call that the dip, it's kind of slightly evened out, but still not a lot of sales of this because it is such an expensive card. But if this can move up slightly, and then you have Apollosa, if that can maybe rebound, then I think you'll see the rest of the Starlight market kind of go back up. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'll pass it along to you. You have now the quarter century rare prices from the 10.
Yes, correct. Here we go. All right. So yeah, we'll go right into the promos in the newest tin. And like I sort of alluded to earlier, the highest in the set, we'll sort this real quick by high to low, has been since the beginning Stardust Dragon, which has gone up significantly from its low of around, I actually thought it was lower, but it's saying here on the chart 750 was the lowest point basically, and it at one point a few days ago was basically double that initial price. Now Stardust and Black Rose, my opinion, why these have for the longest time, whether Starlight or now the quarter century, have always held their value, is due to their relevance in Stardust. Even in modern format, is somewhat of a playable card. And then you have Edison format, which over the last year or so has completely blown up as the most popular alternate format to the current modern Yu-Gi-Oh format. And I guess to go a little bit deeper on that, the reason why I think Stardust has always surpassed Black Rose is, and this is something that's fairly new to me as I'm just starting to get into Edison. We'll have more videos covering that in the future, but Black Rose is limited to 1 in Edison format. And what that does to the values of cards is something I've just noticed over the last year or so is, basically it comes down to basic supply and demand, where you only need 1 of these for your deck. That leaves a lot more of them out there on the market, hence the price will be lower. Stardust is, I believe, limited to 2, or it might be completely unlimited, so you could play 3 copies of it, and a lot of people do in their extra deck in Edison. There's not many extra deck cards really to play, so that's, in my opinion, why Stardust Dragon has been the highest since the release of the tins. Overall, Dark Magician is the second highest, Cyber Dragon, but most of these, there was a quick little like blip a few days ago. I was looking at these because I'm actually looking to buy Stardust and Black Rose at a good price, where they kind of dropped down to like Stardust was like $11, Black Rose $5. It's saying there are some listings here at $5. I think Cyber Dragon even dropped down to about $5, but they're already starting to bounce back. So hopefully I didn't miss my opportunity, but for the most part, you get past there, and most of these are struggling to really even hold a dollar. And that just, I think, that just has to do with the fact that most of these are not playable, and there's a lot of variance where I'm not going to sit here and count the number, but from what I've heard, there's basically if you buy an entire case of the tins, you're not even going to get every single one of these.
Yeah,
So
you get
you know
you get doubles.
you're going to get doubles, and you're not going to get some of any. And I don't know if anyone has really confirmed whether there are short printing, but it kind of feels like the Stardust and some of these other ones like Dark Magician. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it past Konami for them to short print those particular promos. Now we'll jump into.
I just want one last piece.
Yeah,
The fact that they Elemental Hero Neos, which is another iconic card.
Yeah.
They gave it this type of treatment, especially they gave it a nice Pharaoh's rare in
Right.
Mavens last year, which Mavens was a great set. It's selling, the Core Century is selling for $2 for Neos.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's an iconic card. And then you have Exodia, which has a Starlight, is selling for $2. I don't know.
I think the issue is, like I said, they're basically giving these away now, and cards like that would have done much better in an environment where they were a chase card, because Neos and Exodia, the Forbidden One, the Head of Exodia, are not playable cards that like anyone's going to use. They're basically just collector's items. So if that's the case, like a card like that, you have to give it that sort of chase, or like that sort of a pull ratio where it can become, by design, a collector's item, basically.
People would have bought the tins no matter what.
Right.
I just don't think they needed this. But yeah, go on to your next piece.
Okay, yeah. So real quick, the most recent YCS was YCS Cancun 2023, and the first place was Fluanderies, which I think kind of took a lot of people by surprise. Most people were probably not expecting this deck to top, let alone finish first place in the event. And I was just looking real quick after I heard that news. Most of this stuff has not really moved up. I mean, the deck has gotten a lot of reprints in the tins over the last like year or two, so it's a fairly accessible and obviously meta relevant deck. You have one Starlight here that has just been like, even with the announcement of this player winning first place at the most recent YCS, you see a little bit of a curl or bottoming out here, but this thing has done nothing but crater. I don't think this was ever really a super expensive. Yeah, we're seeing like highs of $87, so never a great Starlight, but it's really done nothing but go down. The one card
which is so funny because that's one of the most played decks. Oh, like in terms of Starlight cards.
Yeah,
that's one of the most played decks.
Modern decks for sure. Now the one card that did go up, ignore this. This is a ultra rare promo that I guess they were giving out. Forget what they call these, but either way, the one card that you look at this chart here, this card, Fluanderies Empin, has shot up since that announcement. Still not a crazy expensive card, but Burst of Destiny, again, not a great set. It was a very meta relevant set at the time. This Burst of Destiny gave you a lot of the Despia cards, and a lot of cards that from decks that are still being played to this day. But it's basically more than doubled in price now. You're saying market price at $8.92, $9. But then if you scroll down here, really once you get into near mint, from like what's it called, verified sellers with a lot of sales, you're talking minimum $11, $12 for some of the reliable sellers on here if you wanted to buy this card right now. Don't want to, linger on that too long. Not super interested in Flandrees myself, but real quick, Assault Synchron from Monstrous Revenge, which was supposed to be, it almost felt like the poster card or just something that was very highly anticipated. I still love the card. I think it's very underrated, but you can see here in the last, we had like a little bit of a high bounce back after the release of the set at like $8, slowly starting to curl up. Not going to spend too much time on this, but just interested for myself to see what that was kind of doing. Then Revolution Synchron from Duelist Nexus, which I had really high hopes for that set. And
I still have that card.
Yeah, it's doing, this set is doing very poorly. It was not super well received for whatever reason. But yeah, it is, if you expand it to like a 1-year chart, you can see it is starting to bounce back a little bit here. Drop down to lows of $30, and we're coming back up quickly to 40. And basically, again, like for a verified seller, cheapest you're going to pay is $39-$40 for that. Now on to, we're going to segue into we're going to cut into a little segment that I want to call, I can say for myself for sure, but we'll say Joey and Dean sold too early. And I think some of these are going to blow Dean's mind because I know he's had both of these cards. I know I've sold my extra copies and maybe all of my copies of this next card, Tearlament's Kashtira, which is from Photon Hypernova. We didn't open a ton of this set, but this card has just skyrocketed up. It's at $22 first edition market price.
What's the rarity of that?
It's an ultra rare.
I definitely like gave those away.
Yeah, no, I think I traded some of these in for maybe like $3 to $5. You can see this was at lows of like $4. It was honestly probably even lower than that, or at least if you're trading it in at your local card shop, you're not getting $4 or $5 for this card at the time.
I definitely sold those because I remember thinking it's got tier elements and cash because I'm not really meta, but it has tier elements and Kashtira. Why isn't this worth money?
Yeah, and the reason that it's shooting up now is because I think in the OCG, which people take a lot of inspiration from, of what's going to become, playable or what sort of interesting little techs or combos to put into your deck. A lot of people are playing this now in the Tearlaments deck, which has a lot of cards that have been banned. And they're basically throwing this in because this counts as another Tearlament name that you can use to fusion summon with or things like that. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the chart, this is now surpassed its pre-release price of $21. We're at nuts. A high of like $23, $24 that this hit. And yeah, I think I had 3 or 4 copies of this card at one point, and I got rid of all of them way too early. And now number 2, which is even crazier. I won't say even crazier because it makes a little bit more sense to me because I like this card and I think it's definitely a very useful card in multiple decks currently. And I know I recently sold a copy of this for under $10. Bestial Dissipator is at about 40. Yeah, it's saying $33 market price here. Direct by TCG player, $41.
I still have a copy of that.
I still have 2 of them actually, but I did sell I think 1 or 2 copies maybe like a month or so ago. Yeah, but ultra rare from Cyberstorm Access.
And this
quickly
didn't get
shooting
a reprint,
up.
right?
No, well, yeah. So
is that why it shot up?
Yes, but this wasn't expected to get a reprint because Cyberstorm is 2023 set,
okay,
so that won't be eligible until next year's tins. I think what's starting to happen now with a lot of these sets that I think, like Cyberstorm Access, I think was criminally overlooked for a while, but what's going to start to happen now after the tins, which I mean it's not like a secret or anything like that. That a lot of these sets like Duelist Nexus, Cyberstorm have cards that are very useful in them, and at this point it's going to be another entire year until these cards get reprints, most likely. So as we get into more YCSs and competitive seasons, people are going to be buying out these cards to use in their decks essentially. But yeah, basically quickly going up over $30 here for first edition near mints, and yeah, those are the two that I found that I was just kind of blown away by, because these are cards that Dean and I have both pulled over the last year, and to be honest, weren't too excited when we opened that pack with Tearlaman's Kashtira in it. It kind of didn't feel great, but
I'm more annoyed about that because I have a Bastille Dispatter card, but I might have just thrown these out. I wouldn't have thrown them out, but I might have just thrown them in when I sold that big bulk of cards to the guy that we go to. I probably just like had these in there.
Yeah,
and he probably gave me like $1. I sold him like a bunch of stuff at once.
Yeah, I legitimately I traded in a few of these. And I think I got a couple dollars towards whatever I was trading in for. But yeah, it's just it's the way it goes sometimes. It like certain cards you really never know when they're gonna spike for some random reason, or they release a new card that has some sort of synergy with this old card that used to be garbage, and then just all of a sudden you have you have a chart that looks like this. So I'm not going to say hold on to all of your crappy cards, but
I would sell it.
Well, oh yeah, I'm not saying right now to hold on to it. I'm saying, in general, if you buy like a booster box of something and you pull a couple $1 ultra rares, $2 secret rare, I tend to like hold on to those cards just in case of situations like this, rather than trading them in for $1 or $2. More so with the secret rares, I kind of do that rather than the ultra rares. But yeah, it goes to show you just really never know.
I was like looking at my app to see how many of the Bastille Dispatters I had, because I haven't updated. I had 4 of them.
Oof.
Yeah, that's his life. All right, is there anything?
We can wrap. No, I was gonna say I think we could wrap it up there, unless you have anything else you want to touch on.
Unshare your screen so we're not minimized anymore.
Yes.
So I can see our beautiful Yugi-Centric thing behind us. Now, the one thing I'll say is probably be like a bi-weekly. I would like to do market watch because I think it's good just to keep up to date on this.
Yeah, for ourselves as well. I mean, we haven't we haven't really been trading in cards or flipping cards as much as we used to. That's something I want to get back to as well. So I think staying on top of it. What's up?
What are you doing Friday?
Maybe trading in some cards, I guess.
Maybe Saturday before we go to that thing.
Yeah,
if we can do that. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Are you gonna create like an outro for us?
Yeah, good.
All right, here's the outro. Bye.